that they wanted to move the award ceremony up and that she needed to get people ready right away. She was frustrated by that. She said the timing has been carefully planned. I'm not going to have anybody in the room. The other department direct care staff receiving the ceremony, or excuse me, receiving an award, they won't be available either. She was told she needed to do it. It was kind of a directive that she received, and then she was told, we'll let you know when that's going to happen. She accepted that. It was not until the second phone call that she believes also was from Gisette Harding. That occurred around 9:30. She was told, never mind what we said earlier. We're going to set it back at the scheduled time, again, based off Dr. MacNeill's availability. Again, she's frustrated. This is yet a second change of plan. So at this point, whoever she was speaking to, believed to be Ms. Harding, indicated to her, I think she thinks, to alleviate her frustration, that Dr. MacNeill's wife was ill. Not sure what's going on, but that's why we're shifting things around. I won't go into detail on the third call because I believe, Your Honor, based on that expected testimony, it appears that my reasoning for the effect on the hearer being that she changed the award ceremony around because of Dr. MacNeill's, because of the impact of his sick wife, and that being a very good reason that she would have compassion enough to switch things around for him. That appears to be a justification that received after the fact and after she actually had agreed to change the timing of the ceremony. I do believe that, and I think Ms. Gustin would concur in this, that her changing the ceremony around was based on his availability. But that's.
But at that point, she'd already moved.
At that point, she'd already decided to accept that change. Okay. And it was not necessarily based on her being told that Michelle MacNeill was ill. And so at this point, I think I would stipulate to their objection about that statement. My wife or Dr. MacNeill's wife is ill. But I think the rest of it is properly admitted.
And we think that's appropriate, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. The objection is sustained on that additional information. The award ceremony having already been rescheduled at the time the 9:30 phone call is received, offering that to prove effect on the hearer would not make sense because the effect had already been achieved in the first phone calls and directives received. Have you instructed your witness not to make that statement? Very good. Anything further then? Thank you for your help.
Let's have the jury in.
Did you locate defendants D we talked about this morning? My recollection is that you took it back. Thank you. Please be seated. We'll go back on the record in the matter of State of Utah versus Martin MacNeill. Mr. MacNeill is present with his counsel. The state's attorneys are present. Get Ms. Frost back on the witness stand. Ms. Frost, if you'll retake the witness stand here, the direct examination will continue.
Okay, Ms. Frost, I'm going to back us up a little bit before our recess. We were talking about the award ceremony that you had scheduled for this safety fair, and you had mentioned that it had been rescheduled. Is that correct?
That's correct.
For whose benefit did you move the ceremony around?
Dr. MacNeill's.
When you were asked to reschedule the ceremony, did you suggest an alternative doing
No,
that?
I did not. We had clearly established the time as to when most people would be able to be there at 11:45.
Let me clarify my question. Did you suggest an alternative to rescheduling the ceremony, some other way to handle his
Oh.
availability in a way?
Yes, I did. During the second notification, I offered for a member of his department to receive the award.
Okay, and how was that received?
They said he would come to receive the award.
He being,
Dr. MacNeill.
okay. Let's talk about, you mentioned a second phone call. Let's talk about the first one. Will you explain how these adjustments to the award ceremony schedule unfolded over the morning?
Yes. Shortly after 8 o'clock, I received a phone call and was told that I needed to be ready to give the award at any moment.
And do you recall who that phone call was from?
I believe that was Josette Harding.
Who is she?
She's the assistant for the director, Karen Clark.
Okay. And Karen Clark is the director of the,
Developmental Center.
okay, is she basically in charge of the whole facility?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So you received this call from Josette Harding,
Yes.
and what was the phone call about?
It was about we needed to move the time based on Dr. MacNeill's availability and that I should be ready at any moment to give the award.
Okay. How did you receive that?
I was frustrated
Why is that?
because from 8 to 9, they are feeding the individuals, getting them dressed to go to work, and none of the direct care people would be able to be there. I would have no one to see the safety award, and part of the group that would receive award wouldn't even be there because they would be working with their individuals.
So 8 o'clock's kind of a go time for most of the employees.
Yes.
It's a downtime for the fair.
Yes. Just
slower time.
just a few people might trickle in if they can spare someone.
Okay. And did you raise those objections?
I did.
How were they received?
I was told we would have it when he could be available.
Okay. So did you prepare things to have the award ceremony at a moment's notice?
I did. I made a few phone calls. I said, just be ready. I'll call you as soon as I can. I apologize for the inconvenience. When I call you, try to get some people if you can.
Okay. What was the next interaction you had on this subject?
Approximately 9:30 to 9:40, I received a second call, and I was advised at that time that we would not need to hurry and have it, that we would be going close to the time we had planned.
The second call was from whom?
I believe, again, that was from Josette Harding.
Okay. And when you said you were told that we'd go ahead as planned, that meant what to you?
Well, it was still a standby situation, but I thought maybe I might have more people depending on when I was called, because from 9 to 11, they're at work.
Okay. So was the schedule put back, was the award ceremony put back on the schedule for 11:45 at that point, or was it still kind of a whenever Dr. MacNeill shows up situation?
It was still based on Dr. MacNeill's availability.
Okay. What did you do in response to that call?
I called and said, it's going to be a little bit later. I don't know when, but be on standby and I'll call you. Hopefully we'll have people there.
Okay. Was there a third telephone call?
There was.
Do you recall who it was from?
I actually believe that came from Karen Clark.
Okay. And what happened in this call?
I was told, we're going to do it right now. Get the people in the room.
About what time did you receive that?
That was between 10:40 and 10:50. It's not adjacent.
Okay. And so for him to get over to the Heather building, it would take, what, 5 minutes to walk to the Heather building?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
How long would it take to walk from his office over to the Heather building, the safety fair?
I would guess a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Yes, that would be the best time to have the most people there.
Okay. And during this interview on March 4th, 2011, Doug Whitney, the investigator, asked you for an agenda of the safety fair that day, correct?
I don't recall.
And this interview with Doug Whitney was 4 years after? 4 years after the April 7th, 2011?
If we're talking about 2007 to
2007,
2011, yes, that would be approximately 4 years.
Okay. All right. So you don't remember being asked for an agenda?
I don't recall that.
If I could just have one moment, Your Honor. Okay, I'll move on for 1 minute. In that interview, you did not tell Doug Whitney that the award was scheduled for 11:45, did you?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you review that before coming to court here today?
No, I did
The
not.
prosecutors asked you to review any of this?
No.
Okay, but you knew you were going to testify today?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know it would be today until last evening, but
You didn't review anything? You didn't review your preliminary hearing transcript, or
I did review my preliminary hearing transcript.
you didn't review the interview you had with?
I did not.
Okay. But you don't recall whether or not you stated to Jeff Robinson or one of the investigators that the safety award was scheduled for 11:45?
I really don't recall.
Okay. If you took a break and went over this, would you be willing to review this?
I will do whatever the court would like me to do.
Okay. Let me. Do you remember having a conversation with the investigator about when the award should occur?
I really don't remember
Okay.
much
If I can
about.
approach, Your Honor.
You may.
Is there anything that indicates what this is from?
Are you refreshing recollection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if you'll collect the document, you may inquire further.
refresh your memory about your conversation with one of the investigators about the timing of this?
Well, it refreshes my memory that someone has written something about what I said, yes, but I can't really tell when that was.
Trying to figure out when the award was scheduled for and when it was given?
It refreshes my memory as to what I said at that time, yes.
Okay. And what you said during that time is that the award is typically given between 11 and 12.
Yes, I did say that.
Okay. And you weren't sure of the time as to when the award was given.
I see that my response there is a limited response. I don't know the remainder of the context. I think that could be my first pass at my first thought as to when that happened.
And didn't the investigator tell you that another witness had told you that Martin got the award at 11:15?
I don't recall that.
Sustained.
And, Your Honor, I'm using it for other purposes to show that the investigators were telling her that about other witnesses and that they were nailing down this time of the award based upon what other witnesses had said.
So you're offering it for the effect on her own memory that the
Yes.
statement was made?
Yes, that it was made and they were trying to figure it out because she testified today that.
Thank you.
Okay.
The objection is overruled, then it's not offered for its truth, but for the effect on this here, you may continue.
Okay, do you recall the investigator telling you that he was confident about the time that Martin got the award, and that was at 11:15?
I do not recall that.
And, Your Honor, I'm using it for other purposes to show that the investigators were telling her that about other witnesses and that they were nailing down this time of the award based upon what other witnesses had said.
So you're offering it for the effect on her own memory that the
Yes.
statement was made?
Yes, that it was made and they were trying to figure it out because she testified today that.
Thank you.
Okay.
The objection is overruled, then it's not offered for its truth, but for the effect on this here, you may continue.
Okay, do you recall the investigator telling you that he was confident about the time that Martin got the award, and that was at 11:15? When was the award supposed to be rescheduled to during that first phone call?
I was supposed to be on standby because it was going to have to happen almost immediately.
And then you stated that you got a second phone call,
Correct.
and then a third phone call.
Correct.
Do you remember talking to the investigator about the phone calls that came in that morning from these people?
I don't.
So you wouldn't recall that you never told the investigator that 3 phone calls didn't come in?
I don't recall that.
Could I have one moment, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm sorry, I just thought that you would have reviewed this. Okay, so at this safety fair, there were a bunch of booths, correct?
Booths, yes.
Yes, booths.
They're tables, actually.
Oh, I see,
but
okay. And the medical services booth was the one that Martin would have been a part of?
Correct.
Okay, but he wasn't necessarily in charge of that, correct?
I wouldn't say that because he's the one that would decide who would be there at what time.
Okay, but you assumed that, isn't that correct? That it was
That's-
Martin who was in charge of that?
The way it had worked in the past.
Okay. There are 50 to 70 people in the medical services department.
I don't know how many people would be there, but that seems like quite a few.
Okay, and he has, he has a secretary, things like that?
Correct?
Okay. And you would get a list in the past of people who would be manning the booth?
Yes. There would usually be a little list on the table
Okay.
of the times.
And from past experience, Martin just dropped by briefly at the safety fair, isn't that right?
Yes. With exception of the first year. He spent about an hour at the table during the first year.
But you just figured that his department would send people, right?
I expected there would be a list.
Okay. But it was his department that would do that, not Martin specifically.
A list.
Okay. But it was his department that would do that, not Martin.
Because I wasn't asked the question in the same way, and it was one of the first things I realized as I left the room.
And you didn't say anything to the investigator in your interview in March 4th of 2011, did you?
I don't recall that.
Can I have one moment, Your Honor?
May? Do you have redirect?
Just briefly, please. Ms. Frost, you testified that you met with investigators in association with this case.
Correct?
Have you also met with prosecutors?
Yes.
What was the purpose of these meetings?
To understand what my knowledge and recollection was of events on that day.
Has your memory been influenced by these meetings?
I do not believe so.
Have investigators given you any information that you didn't recall yourself?
No.
Have prosecutors done that?
No.
What you're testifying to today, is that based on your own memory?
Yes.
Are you telling the truth today?
Yes.
I have no other questions.
Do you have any recross? Do you want Melissa Frost to remain? Go ahead. Do you have another question? Go ahead.
Two matters. I keep forgetting to, we've already published the Exhibit 34 to the jury, but I wonder if I could provide that to them and take a closer look. Mrs. Frost made
You may. Do you move to admit it as amended?
I do.
Any objection?
No objection.
Defendants, is it 34?
34, I believe.
States 34 is received. Do you have questions for Ms. Frost, any of you? No? If you'll publish the exhibit. Would you like Ms. Frost to remain under her trial subpoena, or is she released?
I think she can be released, Your Honor.
Do you agree? You're released from your trial subpoena. You may step down. Thank you. Who is next?
State calls Gayla Moore.
Ms. Moore, if you'll come up here to the clerk's desk, please. If you'll raise your right hand and take an oath. Right here. Thank you. If you'll be seated right here and respond to counsel's questions.
Hi.
Hello.
Will you please state and spell your name for the record?
Gayla Moore.
And will you spell that?
Gaylamoore.
I'm just going to give
has
them,
everyone had a chance? Oh, it's going this way? Okay.
I'm just
good.
going to give them a moment to review that, Your Honor.
Did you have a question? Okay. Let's just take a brief recess then. Please keep in mind my prior admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Avoid any television, radio, or internet news broadcast of the trial. Let me ask you this. Would you like to just break for lunch now? We could do that now and go from 11:35 to 12:35. Is that okay? Is that all right? Okay. Don't form or express any opinion about the case until it's finally submitted to you for deliberation. Do no research on your own using keep in mind my prior admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Avoid any television, radio, or internet news broadcast of the trial. Let me ask you this. Would you like to just break for lunch now? We could do that now and go from 11:35 to 12:35. Is that okay? Is that all right? Okay. Don't form or express any opinion about the case until it's finally submitted to you for deliberation. Do no research on your own using computers or something else. Let me just have you finish looking at that and then we'll break. Would you collect that, Mr. Peed, please? Very good. Court's in recess. Your own using computers or something else. Let me just have you finish looking at that and then we'll break. Would you collect that, Mr. Peed, please? Very good. Court's in recess.